This program is sponsored by Auckland City Council. 185. The number of ethnic groups in Auckland City. 38. The percentage of Auckland residents who were not born in New Zealand. Coming up next.
But I'm in favour of there being more openness, more of the discussion being carried out in the public arena rather than behind closed doors. I think that's certainly something we could have been justly criticised for in this last round.
They never came to settle. They never raised one issue with the then government of the UNP at that time. It was breached 7,000 times, more than 7,000 times by the LTT.
We also have a vehicle which we have developed within the police. It's called the Polokalama Leo Leo, which goes up weekly to all the different island group, and I'm sure some people have heard it. It's on New FM. And we talk about topical issues that you've raised.
Next week.
We do have men coming along as well. In fact, our new sponsor Suzuki has got a lot of beautiful cars and motorbikes here, so certainly they're not all women, and frankly, where else can boys go where there's going to be over 20,000 women all in one place? So we do get some boys coming along as well.
9,461. The number of businesses in the Central Business District. 78,480. The number of people who work in those businesses. Douglas Armstrong to make public confidential agenda proceedings on Metrowater.
But I'm in favour of there being more openness, more of the discussion being carried out in the public arena rather than behind closed doors. I think that's certainly something we could have been justly criticised for in this last round. And obviously things like that need to be confidential, as is the case when we talk about people, their performance as directors of some of our council organisations and things like that. Obviously that needs to be confidential because it's like a performance appraisal.
The Metrowater controversy continues to rage unabated. After City Vision last year, it has now engulfed the Citizens and Ratepayers-dominated council, much to the embarrassment of the Mayor John Banks and his deputy David Hay, acting contrary to their election campaign promises. Murky Metrowater has come back to haunt CNR, who have pledged to take $68 million in charitable payments from the council-owned entity over a period of 5 years. In the run-up to the local body elections in October last year, the Mayor had clearly trumpeted to eliminate charitable payments and rid Metrowater of its ills. In the light of washing its hands of pre-election promises, the right-leaning CNR has come under tremendous pressure.
Where's our money going with Metrowater? We want a full independent cost-benefit analysis into Metrowater, the commercialised model, to prove whether or not Metrowater is more efficient, whether user charges are fairer, and that user charges do in fact encourage water conservation.
Questions are now being raised in some quarters as to whether National can be trusted, particularly with the contention that central government elections tend to be won or lost in Auckland. Water Pressure Group media spokesman Penny Bright contends that the voting public will be interested to see the track record of Auckland City Council elected representatives, read CNR, on this core issue of democratic accountability, to get some indication of how trustworthy on key promises central government's equivalent, read the National Party, political parties will be. The Parliamentary Select Committee in its September 20th, 2007 report strongly advised Auckland City Council to reconsider its requirements for charitable payments from Metrowater in the years 2007 through to 2017 and observed it is unacceptable. Public pressure has led to Auckland City Council's Douglas Armstrong agreeing to make public a Metrowater issue that was previously held confidential to the public.
We're trying to move to a point where the paper gets that is taken in confidential committee gets released at the end of the day with just certain things deleted, which may mean that the public perceives that as better and more open than keeping the whole paper in confidential, because parts of it are confidential. So we'll be dealing with things in that way in the future and moving the papers into the public arena, maybe with certain deletions. But the conversation that goes on about confidential things probably does need to be kept confidential, because otherwise it won't be free and frank. And we won't be, as a council, getting to the bottom of things because everything will have to be sanitised.
The decision follows an Auckland City Council Finance and Strategy Committee meeting last week that excluded the public. At the meeting, they reviewed Metrowater Ltd's performance for the half year ending the 31st of December 2007.
Well, our heart's in the right place on this. There's no point in making something confidential when it doesn't need to be, and indeed trying to keep things confidential is against the public interest and hard work at the end of the day. So we've got the view that everything that can be in public will be in public. There are some things that business that council conducts, such as when it goes about purchasing a property for roading works or something like that, where we talk about purchase prices and so on before we've made offers, and obviously things like that need to be confidential, as is the case when we talk about people, their performance as directors of some of our council organisations and things like that. Obviously that needs to be confidential, because it's like a performance appraisal where you get an employer and employee talking together. Those things have got to be private.
Mr Armstrong was responding to an interview he had given Darpan the Mirror last year when he was in opposition. He denounced in that interview the practice of holding secretive meetings and accepting charitable payments from Metrowater. He says now he does not see it as an issue of double standards, and pointed out submissions are being called for with respect to charitable payments, and although some CNR members thought we should get rid of them, it will be difficult to subdue the rise in rates and water prices. Justifying the need for having a part of the meeting in confidence for a fair and frank discussion over the performance-related issues and meeting the objectives of council, he drew the parallel of an employer doing a confidential review of an employee. Stressing the importance of subjecting the performance of directors to a critical analysis, he stated, "There's always an element of confidentiality involved in this sort of thing."
I think we do need to get rid of the charitable payments, because I think most people don't understand what they're about. And we've gone a long way towards that. We're proposing in the draft plan that we hold the price of water to the council's rate of inflation, which is about 5%, and that will see charitable payments diminish and gradually phase out over the next few years. In terms of the confidentiality of council deliberations, we do have to, in effect, performance appraise our community-owned companies, and we need to do that in confidential to some extent, so that we can hold people accountable. So it's a bit like a performance review, and most people wouldn't like a performance review with their bosses to be held in open camera. There are things that need to be said in a frank and open way, and if we insisted on those everything being in open, then they would be sanitised and the reporting would be sanitised, and we wouldn't be properly governing those companies. So we have to have a little bit in committee, but we want to see as much as we can out of confidential, and we'll be moving to have all but parts of the confidential papers, the actual confidential papers, taken out in the open in the next few meetings. So we're evolving towards that ideal situation.
Last Wednesday, Metrowater Chairman Ross Keenan and CEO Jim Bentley formed a part of the confidential proceedings, much to the dismay of a protesting group. Metrowater supplies water bought from Watercare Services Ltd to 160,000 customers in homes and businesses over a 153 square kilometre area, with about 49 million cubic metres of drinking water being provided each year, as well as meeting all of Auckland City's wastewater requirements. It contends 60% of a paying customer's bill goes to Watercare. Watercare's wastewater gets treated at the Mangere Wastewater Treatment Plant before it is discharged into the Manukau Harbour. This program was sponsored by Auckland City Council. Number 5 out of 215. Auckland's international ranking for quality of life.